documentation, and Docs is our Microsoft site for all the technical documentation for the company or the products. Then I'll do a brief recap on the things that we've done for the last 8 to 10 months on the software side. I'll speak a little bit about the in-country activities that we have, how to give us feedback, how to connect with us, and all that good stuff. And then we have a guest speaker from Transifex, and they're going to give us a demo on the tool itself. This is their platform that we use for localization of software. And then at the end, we'll just recap, and we'll do a 5-minute Q&A. But in the meantime, if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, feel free to use the conversation window, and we'll do our best to keep up with that. So, Sarah, I'll hand over control to you for the docs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Nicolini, and I'm a PM in the Content International team at Microsoft. Today, I'm going to talk to you about docs.microsoft.com, which is our new documentation service at Microsoft. I'm going to give you a demo first. So if Andy, can you give me control of the... Yeah, okay. Just let me know and confirm when you guys can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Perfect. So our focus for this new documentation service is that we not only want to focus on the experience, but also on the content that we create and how each of you basically consume it. This is why we migrated, and we're still in the process of migrating the content that we had over the years on MSDN and TechNet, and we move it to this new service, which is docs.microsoft.com. Some of the feedback that we got from customers is that to go beyond walls of text with feature level content and also help to implement solutions to their business needs. So we delivered this platform with this purpose. And one of the features that you can see, so this is the docs.microsoft.com service. You will see that it's product-based, so you will see all the different technologies on the main landing pages. And one of the things that we basically see, so for example, if I'll take the enterprise mobility and you navigate through the different articles and topics that are in the documentation, is that the content was restructured, shortened, and changed in a way that you can also see when you begin reading an article what is the actual time that it takes to read it, basically. One of the things that you will see, this content is usually localized and translated into different languages. The language set varies per product. But generally speaking, we have between 10 and 17 languages. You will see that at the bottom of the page, for example, there is a language picker. Now it's pointing to English US because obviously I'm based in the US, but if you go to docs.microsoft.com in your country, it should redirect you directly into content in your language. You can still, from here, go to the language picker and select actually the language that you want. So for example, in my case, let's say I'm going to select Italian, and it will redirect me back to the page with the content localized in Italian. One of the things that I want to show you is that most of our content is actually professionally translated, but we also have some content that is machine translated. In those particular cases, at the top of the page, basically what you will see is that there is a disclaimer. In this case it's in Italian, but if you switch to your language, you will have it localized in your language, that says that the content has been machine translated, but you can actually visualize the English text in a pop-up window if you basically hover. And this is what happens here. So I have the localized content in the page. I go over and I will see basically the original text in English. This is a feature that can be enabled and disabled. So I have the option actually to disable the feature so that it doesn't disrupt my reading. But obviously, because the content is machine translated, not everything might necessarily be understandable fully or readable. So you want to go back and check what is the original text. So you can basically just enable it again. One of the things that we implemented as part of this is that each topic and each piece of documentation that we have on docs.microsoft.com is open to community contributions. So for example, when you land over on this page, you can actually click on the right hand side this, which is the edit button. So let's say if I go back to English, this applies to all languages, including English as well. You will see on the right hand side again the edit button. So if I click the edit button, it will redirect me into the GitHub repo in English where the original topic in Markdown format is located. So let's say I go back to Italian, just to pick one language, just as an example. I go to this page, which, as I mentioned earlier, is machine translated, and I notice that there is something that I really don't like, doesn't make sense, is not fluent because it's been machine translated, and I want to submit a suggestion to basically improve the content. So I click the edit button and I will land into the actually GitHub repo where the article or the topic is located. This, as you can see, is basically the topic, and if you click on this button, which is edit button, you basically go into edit mode where the source file is, and you will see you have the actual file in Markdown format. You can make changes, but you also can switch to this tab, which is the preview changes tab, that show you when you make the changes if how the topic is supposed to look like. So you can go here, you can basically make any edit. You don't have write access, but what it will happen is that you suggest a change in the topic, and as soon as you submit it, it will create a pull request. And we have a pool of moderators and reviewers that are reviewing all the pull requests. And generally, between 3 days to 1 week at most, the pull requests are reviewed and either approved or rejected. So, for example, let's say I go here now and I want to change something in this topic, or maybe I notice something that I want to add or doesn't make sense, and I notice something and I want to just edit it basically. For example, let's say it's just a minor change and I just want to change the capitalization of this. You can add a comment if you want, and then you can click propose file change, and this is what will create basically a pull request. So you submit it, and then you click pull request and create pull request. So it will start, as you can see, I'm showing as an external contributor right now because I logged in as an external contributor, because I want to just tell you, because this is a minor change, you don't need to assign what we call a license agreement, because it's just a minor change, so it will just go through. But let's say I want to make a major change to this file. It can either like adding a paragraph, or for example, it could be something like actually removing something that doesn't make any sense. So I go here, I want to just remove this entire section. and make a major change. Same thing, propose file change, and create pull request. It's still considered this as a small one, so when you make major changes, it will request you to sign the contributor license agreement in that case. One thing I want to highlight as well is that when you navigate in the documentation, you might actually end up seeing content that is not localized yet. In this particular case, so you will see the topic just in English. What we would suggest you to do is not to actually submit any localization or full translation for topics that you only see in English, because it might be that it's in the face of being localized. So what we would like you to do is more to submit suggestions to existing localized content, which could be either human translated or machine translated. Andy, if we can go back to the slide deck, please.
Okay, so I'm going to request your control here.
Yeah.
Okay, and okay.
Did it go through? I don't see it yet.
Okay, should be coming through. Is it showing?
I don't see it. I don't know about the other. Maybe.
Not yet for my side.
Okay, hang on.
Let me see. I'll try to give you control. Okay. No, it doesn't.
Let me see. Yeah, because now I've lost the call. Give me 1 second. Can you try to take control?
Maybe I'll share my desktop.
Try to share your desktop.
Yeah. There you go. So then request control again.
Okay.
I think I have it here. Oh, I don't see you.
Hold on. I seem to have lost I lost Skype. Hold on, I'm afraid to do anything here because we may crash it.
Let's see.
So why don't I do this? I'm going to leave the Skype session right now, and then you can share your desktop.
Yeah.
For now. Okay.
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 Guys, just bear with us a couple of minutes while we're trying to fix this technical issue. In the meantime, because we have these few minutes, does anyone have any questions? So we can use this time productively. And in any case, also after this call, I know this was quick, just to give you an overview. I will share some documentation that it's what I was about to show you in the slide deck with some links that are pointing to the actual instructions, from how to create a Git account GitHub account first, in case you don't have it, how the documentation is basically created, and what are the main features, on how you can actually provide feedback as well. I can see, let me see some content. So some of the questions that I see is it possible to open MVP to modify the Chinese version of docs? And let me see the link here. So, okay, let me see. Probably maybe it's not localized yet, because this is a Windows content. And
Sarah, I have the window up if you can see it.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, great.
So this page I don't actually, yeah, so I was clicking one of the pages, but I will follow up and about this content that you're asking. It's not something, I will have to follow up internally with the Windows team that owns this page. But what I can tell you is that majority of the content, at least for products that fall under the cloud and enterprise window, those are all open to community contribution. There are some that are for Windows Server and Office that are not open yet, but they are in the process of doing that. So I will follow up with the Windows team and let you know when this will be open for community contribution, so that you can actually also submit translation suggestion and improvement for the Chinese version of it. Thank you, Andy. So I see that we have, so I just wanted to point out what I was mentioning earlier, that obviously this was a high-level view, but I added in the slide deck some more information to external instructions and documentation on how to set up your GitHub account. Actually, there's a link to the Microsoft Language Portal that you might have seen already when you work on other projects, where we actually have, yes, Terry, the link you're saying, it's included in one of these resources, which is so Terry is added the link to our Microsoft Localization Wiki, and there is a page that explains how to contribute to docs.microsoft.com, which is the first link that I have here. There are the contributor guides, which is very extensive, and it includes references for localization, including terminology and style guide, but also how to set up your GitHub account end-to-end as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Sarah, there's a question from Bob Localization. Sorry for my pronunciation. He or she mentioned that the person left a comment there. So it's just about the question from about the MVP. You can read it in the conversation.
Yes, I'll look at it. I haven't seen it, so it's in the actual slide deck.
Oh, so the question was, the person left comment in the sideline of docs. Who is reviewing those?
Okay, so the sideline of docs, it's only enabled for English. So I think it's referring to the live fire comment. It's not enabled for international or localized content. So if it was left I assume in the English topic, is the internal content writing team that is reviewing that. So I don't know if it was, if there was content that was left and feedback in the target language or in your native language, they might not be able to answer that question. But if you point out where it is, I can follow up and make sure. But just want to let you know, I didn't actually cover this, because at least for international and for localized documentation, we don't have the sideline or live fire comments enabled. Does this answer your question?
Yeah. Mark, I hope Sarah answered your question.
Yeah, so if not, okay, yes, thank you. Okay.
And Sarah, there is another question from our Korean MVP, Yeonjae, and he asked, is there GitHub machine profile for content translation, like Microsoft pull request bot acting?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I assume maybe what you're referring to is if we publish machine translated content, if there is a GitHub machine profile associated with it. If I understood the question correctly, no, because basically what we do, okay, let me see. I mean, what happened if the question is what happened if machine translation is improved from now? Will improved translation be applied later like human contribution? Yes, so the process is this. You submit the suggestion that you have to improve machine translation. And as I said earlier, we have a pool of reviewers that are reviewing that suggestion. If the suggestion is accepted, then it will be applied internally to our translation memory. So every time that there is an update to the documentation and it gets republished, we will recycle that that translation. But obviously, because the suggestion was coming, let's say, from you, as soon as the contribution is accepted, it will show as a pull request that was accepted and it was submitted by you as well. Okay. It seems, yeah, okay. The other thing is, one small suggestion is that the existence of visible machine profile could give a collaborative experience to contributor. I'm not sure I understand the question fully. Is the question that, because we don't really have a profile, GitHub profile associated to machine translation. It's more that when we publish a topic as being machine translated, there is some metadata associated to the topic that says whether it was human translated or machine translated. And then this is where the disclaimer that you see at the top of the topic is based on. So the other comment that you made is collaborative experience of machine translator and human contributor. I think we have to expand that. So I think I'm not really clear about what the question is, but it's like the experience is that. So we have this. When we say there is machine translated content, just to give you a little bit of background, what happens is that we run a topic through our translation memories, which are professionally human translated. Anything that cannot be leveraged against those translation memory then will be machine translated. So this is the reason why sometimes when you see that a topic has been machine translated, there is a sort of blend or mix of quality in it. And through the suggestions that we will get from you, we can basically improve the quality almost at the level of being like fully human translated if we get enough suggestions to cover the full topic as well. And in the subsequent version of that topic, obviously, we leverage those suggestions that are obviously human because they were submitted by you or other external contributors, and they will be published in the next version as well. Thank you for your question. And if you have any suggestions, I know we're running out of time, but if you have any suggestions, feel free also to also use the issue tab in the our Microsoft Wiki GitHub repo as well. So I can follow up on that as well.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit here so we can get the
sorry.
Transifex. No. So it's a good question, good discussion. We just want to give the Transifex guys enough time for them to demo. So real quick, I'm going to walk through some of the work that we've done in the last, say, 10 to 12 months on the software localization project. So all the information as far as the software localization and the docs localization stuff is on our project home in GitHub. So you can use that link to get all this updates and information and how to join and how to contribute. So everything is listed on that link. As far as what we're doing on the software side, so these are projects that Microsoft releases as open source projects. And we're working with the community to contribute to the translations of these projects. So right now we have 3 products that are available for translations. So VSCode, SQL Tools for Linux, and TEE, Team Explorer. The way this works is that we work with the community through Transifex. You go in there and you create an account, and then we place all the resources for the software, and we work with you to create better translations, to have a voting system, to improve current translations. And sometimes we even go in cases where there's a new language or things that are missing in any of these products. And we create an area where you can go and translate the entire project from scratch. So we've been doing several sprints of this process. We've done about 3 iterations of VS Code. We've done 3 of SQL Tool for Linux, and we've done 1 full of TE where we've actually localized a full language from scratch. So this has been really, really great work from the community, and we want to continue to do that and enrich the languages and the software through your efforts. Contributing is super easy. Again, if you go to the project home, there's step-by-step details on how to do that, but you simply just go up to Transifex and create a free account. Then you select the products that you want to be involved with and contribute, and there you go. And then you start localizing. It's fairly easy, and like I said, we have the Transifex team today that's going to walk you through some of their features and the step-by-step process on how to do that. Daniel, handing it over to you for the VS Code update.
So for VS Code, we recently released the July update on 10th of August. So we had 55 contributors who helped us in releasing VS Code for 9 core languages and 7 extended languages. And all the contributors who helped us in achieving this milestone are recognized in the release notes. And the next release that we have for VS Code is the August update. So for this update, we have about 300 plus community members who are currently working on the translations, and the contributions are over like 200 words every month. And for now, we have 19 languages enabled in Transifex. We have recently enabled Thai as well for VS Code. The code freeze for VS Code August update is 29th, which is today, and the end game will be September 1st. So we'll announce all the contributors who helped us in this milestone in the August update release notes. Thank you for all your contributions. Over to you, Andy.
That was Praveen, not Daniel. Thank you, Praveen. So I'm going to go really quick through these through this one slide. So we're in the middle of defining some pretty cool rewards and recognitions for the community. We want to make sure that you guys are getting the visibility and the recognition for all the hard work and all the awesome work that you're putting into the translations. One of the things that Praveen had just mentioned is that whenever you contribute to VS Code or even SQL for Linux, what we're doing is we're including your names into the release notes of the product. So once you install, let's say, VS Code and you go to the help and you check out the release notes, your name will appear there if you're doing these type of contributions. We have a bunch of social channels that you can follow. where we put all the updates, we put all the information. We'll include things like when we're releasing or when we're doing new drops. So this is pretty good. It gives you a lot of it gives you an opportunity to see what's going on, and it also gives you an opportunity to come back to us and give us feedback and ask questions. The project site, like I mentioned earlier, has all the up-to-date information, and it's a pretty much a site that you can go anywhere and get information on the latest and greatest. And like I said before, we have several channels in the bottom where you can get back to us. We are super interested in your feedback. We're always on a learning curve. We're trying to see how we can improve the process, what we can do better to make these translations a lot easier to deal with. So feel free to follow us and give us feedback through those channels. So in that, I'm going to hand it over to the Transifex team.
Great, thank you, Andy. Can everyone hear us? Just want to confirm audio.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So my name is Brendan Kenny. I'm on the business development team here at Transifex, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Transifex's head of product, Antonis Garnelis.
Hi there, guys. Nice to meet you. This is Antonis.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick slide deck and just give a little bit of overview on Transifex, a little bit of background for some people that are maybe new to learning and understanding where Transifex comes from and how we position ourselves in the localization space. And then from there, we'd be happy to share and demo the product for anybody that's new to the actual crowdsourcing workflow inside of Transifex. So I'm going to share my screen now, and once it's visible, please confirm. You should be seeing a slide that says Transifex is a crowdsourcing platform.
Yes, I can see your deck now.
Okay, thank you, Coy. Okay, so real quick background just on Transifex as a company. So Transifex as a localization management system is designed to try and streamline, automate, and simplify the localization process for high growth technology companies. And Transifex as a platform itself is something that has evolved over the course of the last decade. We started out in early 2007 when our founder and CEO, Dimitris Glazos, was working as a localization manager for an open source project called the Fedora project. And he experienced firsthand some of the difficulties around really having a localization process that works in concert with an agile development process. And so he recognized that pain point and really took an opportunity, as an entrepreneur and somebody that's, focused on solving problems, to really try and build out a solution in the open source world and see if that solution could actually evolve and become something more than just a small tool for a small project. So Dimitris ended up participating in the Google Summer of Code in 2007. And from there, some companies like Intel and Mozilla and Nokia started leveraging this open source tool and product. And the platform really started to evolve and expand. But from day one, Transifex was always a platform that really tried to work, for agile development teams, but also layer in this idea of crowdsourcing and leveraging community for translations. And so the idea of crowdsourcing translations is something that has been a part of the DNA of the company from day one. And now Transifex is grown into a full-fledged venture-backed organization with offices headquartered in Menlo Park, California, as well as a team located in Athens, Greece. And so we have hundreds of, or actually thousands of localization projects, tens of thousands of localization projects being managed inside of Transifex, and many, many customers that are leveraging the system. So some examples, some open source projects, as well as some paying clients on our system are included here on this page. Yes, crowdsourcing projects. And so this is something that in technology that has been very much evolving at a rapid rate. And so there's a few different workflows inside of Transifex. The default workflow is where individuals are directly contributing translations to the system. And the other workflow is something that actually we based on Twitter's localization effort, where it's more of a vote-based program. And this is what is being leveraged by the Microsoft team as far as localizing some of their open source projects. And so that's where the project is opened up to the community. Individuals are allowed to participate in the crowdsourcing of those translations and deliver suggestions for what a translation could be. And then the community can upvote suggestions that are good quality translation. And so it really gives the Microsoft team a lot of control and visibility over the translation process and provides a very intuitive interface for the translator to work in when providing suggestions for translations. And so this is just a snapshot, of what the translation editor would look like inside of Transifex. And we can actually share our screen in a bit and show what this looks like in a live application. Some things to call out about Transifex just at a high level is that really the system is designed to be a centralized cloud-based repository for all the content that's being translated. So Transifex is translation agnostic. So our clients can really apply and I think integrate in their preferred translation workflow. So you can have different projects, and different projects can have different translation teams working on the content. But everything is centralized in one place in a nice, intuitive, and easy to automate system for managing the localization process. And some areas we do want to call out that we're going to be focusing on here as far as further evolving the crowdsourcing workflows inside of Transifex are mentioned on this slide.
Yeah, I mean, also Karsten and Koi have provided some feedback, and we have included also here. So one of actually two of the most important things that we should can improve the current workflow is first of all, improve the user experience in the translation editor by allowing the translators to actually filter the content based on whether they have voted or contributed to it or not. This is something that we should be adding soon. And also, currently our reporting, on the votes and the suggestion is manual. So, every week we provide some manual reports that we take, from data that we take from our database, and we should be able to create some interfaces where everyone, could go and, whenever he wants, extract the data that he wants. Another feature that we think will be important that can improve the voting-based workflow is allowing someone to override a popular vote. And I have put there popular in quotes because, sometimes, maybe 2 or 3 community members might vote for a vote that is just funny and, let's say, not actually good, or they might simply have the wrong idea about the translation, so it might be an honest mistake. And we should offer the option there for a manager to override the community vote and set another translation instead. And also, a current limitation of this workflow is that once you apply it to the project, it stands for all the it is the one that you have to use for all the languages of this project. So if you want to use another crowdsourcing workflow or another type of workflow for specific languages of a project, you have to just create another project and apply a different workflow to it. That's it.
Okay, so what we're going to do is actually show kind of a live project inside of Transifex right now. So this is an example of the dashboard, for the Microsoft team, and we're focused specifically on the VSCode editor project inside the account, inside the system here. And so here we can see a dashboard for the translation activity on a weekly, daily, or monthly basis. And we can see the different target translations. So as mentioned earlier by the Microsoft team, there's currently 19 languages that are being managed inside of Transifex and that are available for translation. And so this is the project for VSCode Editor. And I want to give the community a little sense of how the workflow is set up. So right now on the Microsoft side, Koi has done a great job of really automating the workflow, right? So new updates to the code are pushed into Transifex and made available for translation. And when that push happens, the first thing that happens to the new strings that are loaded into the system is that Transifex is able to run a translation memory fill-up operation. So we're able to assess whether or not any of those new strings are 100% matched with any previously translated strings in the system. And if there is 100% match, Transifex can go ahead and autofill and leverage that translation memory to fill in the translation. After the translation memory engine runs, the next part of the process is going to be run machine translation fill-up. So Microsoft is able to leverage the Bing translation and machine translation technology and push machine translations and allow those untranslated strings after TM runs to be translated by MT. So from there, that's then when the community will take over and be able to make improved suggestions for the translations. And the Microsoft team has set up a 2-vote minimum for those community translation suggestions in the system. And so this is kind of the, I think, structure of the workflow for the project inside of Transifex. And then the next question is, okay, well, how are the individuals, from the community getting access to the project? So, as mentioned earlier, Microsoft is within GitHub, put in some documentation and some information that lets the community know about how it can contribute to Transifex. There is also a landing page, right? So if you were to search, Microsoft and translation, Transifex would be one of the options that come up, and so you could land on this public page, right, for the different Microsoft products that are being localized inside of Transifex, and you could, help, and sign up to become a contributor to the translation effort, and then you would be approved by the Microsoft team and given access. And then as a translator, when you log in to Transifex, you would be able to see any of the projects that you've requested access for. And then from there, you would be able to go in and look at the different resources within each project, and then contribute translations for the language that you're participating in. So, for example, let's just say I'm a Brazilian Portuguese translator. I could load all the strings in Transifex's translation editor. And so here I can see there's 318 strings in this resource. Of these 318 strings, 3 are untranslated. So I can quickly filter and just focus on the untranslated strings to focus on. And here I can see existing translation suggestions, right? So I can see this suggestion was provided by the machine translation engine, while it looks like we have a community translator that has made his own translation suggestion. So as a community member, I could either choose to upvote that existing translation, or I could choose to make my own translation suggestion and put that into the mix and allow the community to decide, which translation ultimately is going to be a better fit. So this editor in general is just going to have a lot of nice functionality as far as filtering and searching for content in the system. And then there's things like Glossary, which is also worth calling out, right? So Microsoft has loaded a glossary into the system. You can see the glossary term array has been underlined in gray, alerting the translator that this is the glossary term. And then the translator can load the glossary tab and look at what the preferred translation is. And sometimes maybe also there is a definition for the term to give the translator further information about the key term. And then lastly, as a translator, I could add comments. So if I have a question, I could ask that question in this view and save it as a comment. If there's an issue that I see that something's not correct with the string, I could potentially, mark the string as flagging it with some type of issue. So a lot of flexibility there is around promoting a good channel of communication between the community translators and the project managers on Microsoft's side to help shepherd the strings through the translation effort. And then when translations are deployed, Microsoft is able to deploy the translations that have the necessary votes that have been validated by the community. And then also worth calling out is fuzzy matches, right? So there may be some existing translations or suggestions in the project that might not be 100% match, but they might be a close 98% match. And so as a translator, if I'm providing a suggestion, I can see the difference between the source string and the fuzzy match, and I could potentially copy the fuzzy match and then edit it as need be, which just speeds up the translation process and helps with translation consistency and quality. So a nice intuitive environment in which community translations can be provided to projects like VSCode. So with that, happy to open up to any questions. Let me load and see. Yeah, so if any questions at all, from the participants here, we're happy to give further perspective or insights into any specific areas of the workflow. And if not, that's okay too.
So I think this is a good opportunity to open the floor to any general questions as well. Okay, it doesn't seem like we have too many questions. So what I will do now, so I want to thank all the speakers, the Transifex team, Sarah, thanks for the presentation, and Praveen for giving us an update. And if there are no more questions, we can just wrap it up a little bit early. And what I'll do is just post here real quick a couple of links on the comments page. So we have our wiki page with the information about the projects, and our Twitter account for if you need to follow us for any updates. If you look at, if those social channels are not the ones that you're using, you can look into our wiki where we have additional options for things that we follow and we interact with. So in that, again, thanks to all the speakers, and thank you for attending the call.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.